There are few bonds stronger than that of identical twins. But what happens when that bond becomes a prison? When love turns to obsession, and one twin must die for the other to live? This is the chilling true story of the Silent Twins. June and Jennifer Gibbons were born on April 11th, 1963, in Barbados, but raised in Wales. From the start, something was different. The twins spoke to no one but each other, whispering in a private language only they could understand. Their parents thought it was a phase, but as the years passed, June and Jennifer withdrew from the world and deeper into their own. They moved and spoke in unison. They mirrored each other's movements. They were like shadows, locked in a psychological cage of their own making. At school, they were bullied, mocked, feared. Eventually, teachers gave up trying. The twins were left alone, and that's when things began to turn dark. In their teenage years, the girls began writing twisted fiction novels filled with violence, crime, and perverse relationships. They self-published their work with money from their parents, selling barely any copies. But they didn't care. They weren't writing for the world. They were writing for each other. They also began experimenting. Drugs, boys, even arson. Fires began to break out across their small Welsh town. Eventually, they were arrested and committed to Broadmoor Hospital, Britain's most notorious high-security psychiatric institution. And there, locked away, the bond between them spiraled into something truly terrifying. In Broadmoor, doctors tried everything: therapy, medication, even separation. But the twins remained silent, not to the staff, but to each other. In their diaries, investigators later found disturbing entries. Jennifer wrote, "We are both holding each other back. One of us must die." And June agreed. For over a decade, the girls remained in Broadmoor until 1993, when they were finally approved for transfer to a lower security facility. On the day of their release, Jennifer told June, "I'm going to die now." Hours later, Jennifer collapsed. Her eyes rolled back. She died from sudden acute myocarditis and inflammation of the heart. No poison, no injury, just death. The moment Jennifer died, everything changed. June began speaking normally. She smiled. She made friends. She became a completely different person, as if the spell had been broken. To this day, no medical explanation has ever been found for Jennifer's death. But June's own words remain. "We had a pact. One had to die so the other could live." Was it a psychic connection, a twisted codependency, pushed too far, or something far more sinister? Sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we create in ourselves. Story 2. The Watcher. Someone is watching your house. Imagine buying your dream home, a 6-bedroom house in a quiet, upscale neighborhood. You're excited to move in with your children. Everything seems perfect until the letters start coming. This is the true story of The Watcher. Scene 1. Moving into the dream home. In June 2014, Derek and Maria Broaddus closed on a stunning Dutch colonial in Westfield, New Jersey. Just 3 days after signing, Derek stopped by the house to check the mail and found a letter. No return address, just block letters on the envelope. Inside, a typewritten message. "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood." Derek laughed, but the letter wasn't friendly. 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now. I've been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls? The letter was signed simply, "The Watcher." More letters came. "I see you've already filled the house with contractors. You have children. I've seen them. I counted 3. Are there more on the way? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. The watcher described the children in chilling detail. He or she knew their birth order, their nicknames, their routines. The Broaduses were horrified. They went to the police, hired private investigators, even contacted former FBI agents. The watcher knew too much, but left no fingerprints, no DNA, no footage. The Broaduses never moved in. Fear consumed them. They stayed with relatives, put the house back on the market, but no one wanted it. When their story leaked to the press, the house became infamous. Some neighbors accused the family of faking it for attention, but the police never closed the case. One detective said the letters showed signs of sociopathic fixation. Another claimed the writer was likely someone who never left. Years passed, lawsuits came and went, but the watcher was never caught. In 2019, the house was sold at a loss. The new owners never reported a single letter. But for Derek and Maria, the damage was done. They still don't know who stalked their children, who watched them from the shadows, or why. The last letter they received said simply, "You are despised by the house, and the watcher has won." A home is supposed to be safe, a sanctuary. But what if the walls themselves are watching? Sleep tight tonight. And remember, someone, somewhere, might be watching you. Story 3, Frozen in Fear, the unsolved mystery of Dyatlov Pass. 9 experienced hikers ventured into the icy wilderness of the Ural Mountains in 1959 and never returned. When rescuers found their bodies, what they saw defied all logic, all reason, and all belief. This is the enduring mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident. Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old radio engineering student, led a group of 9 hikers on a trek across the Ural Mountains. They were skilled, prepared, and fearless. They never reached their destination. Weeks later, their frozen bodies were found scattered across the snow. But it was how they died that would haunt investigators forever. The hiker's tent was found half buried in snow. It had been cut open from the inside. Footprints, barefoot, and in socks led away into the forest. Something had terrified them so badly, they fled into the freezing night without shoes, coats, or supplies. Why? 6 of the hikers died of hypothermia. But the others? One had a shattered skull. Another had broken ribs without bruising. The most disturbing, a woman missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips. There were no signs of struggle, no external wounds, no animal tracks, no avalanche. The Soviet government ruled their deaths were caused by a compelling natural force. But what could that mean? Over the decades, theories have multiplied. Was it an avalanche, a freak weather event, infrasound-induced panic, or something darker? Some point to Soviet military experiments. Others claim the injuries resembled those in car crashes or bomb blasts. And then there are the supernatural theories. Yeti sightings, alien encounters, or even a government cover-up. Photographs recovered from the hikers' cameras show their final moments, smiles, laughter, and then darkness. In 2020, Russian authorities reopened the case and again blamed an avalanche. But critics weren't satisfied. Too many questions remain, too many inconsistencies. The mystery refuses to die, just like the whispers in the wind over Dyatlov Pass. 9 lives, no answers. Sometimes the coldest places hide the darkest truths, and some mysteries are never meant to be solved.